Welcome, everyone. I'm Jonathan Friedman, the CEO, co-founder of Demostack. I was dancing to this music, I think, exactly like you. I'm super excited to be here today. Welcome to Demo HQ. We have a super exciting day for you today. We're venturing into the world of data-driven demos beyond just presenting product. We're understanding how to harness real-time insights and shift the entire go-to-market approach with talks from esteemed leaders in pre-sales, marketing, sales. We have a packed day for you today. We're going beyond the understanding of just how to conduct a great demo. We're going to look at a high level review of how to manage entire demo operations at a company. And that thing is complex. The goal of today is really to come together as a community, learn from the best, and encounter highly valuable ideas. We're going to share our perspective as Demostack, but this day is not necessarily about us. This day is bigger than that. And for the first time ever, we're going to introduce a concept called data-driven demos, which we've been working on behind the scenes for a long time. And I'm excited about that because it's really the last unmanaged piece of the modern revenue stack. Cool. So are we all ready to go and redefine your demo strategy together? Do I see the people still dancing with energy? Okay, so let's dive in. Fantastic. Okay, so let's start by introducing data-driven demos. We're going to first talk about the problem with demos, right? We all know how important they are, but on the other hand, they're not getting the attention they're needed. So let's understand why. And we break down the complexity and understand how demos are actually an operation versus an action. And then we're going to go into the sales stack today and see what we are managing and what we're not. And eventually, once we have infrastructure to actually run a demo operation, where can this go? What does it mean? And how do you translate it into sales language that the organization can actually digest and care about, right? The coveted seat at the table. And of course, we're going to summarize this with some key takeaways and things you can actually go and do. So the idea is giving you valuable ideas that you can actually go think about and implement. Fantastic. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's go. Great demos win deals. It's our company's motto, essentially. If you open our website, it's the first thing we plaster all over the website. And we truly believe that. And I think it's almost an axiom at this point. You know that when you have a great demo that really hits, where the customer could see themselves in there and actually using your product, your chance of actually sealing the deal and actually getting that thing signed is high. And the opposite, right? If it goes bad, you can have a great, fantastic few conversations. The demo fall flat. People look at you and just stare. You have a problem. So everyone knows how important the demo is. Everyone knows that if you would take that away from you, if you could not run demos, you probably barely close any deals, if any at all. But on the other hand, we know it's always an inefficient afterthought in many companies. And even the companies that do decide to invest in demo teams and actually have demo engineers and people doing demos, it's very hard for them to showcase impact, help understand why they're doing what they're doing, and how it translates into revenue, right? So we have this great tension between an activity that we know is important and everyone, even from we started the company, people immediately got why we're trying to fix demos. I never needed to explain once why it's important to actually fix a demos issue. So everyone knows that on the back of their hand, everyone who ever tried to sell a digital product. On the other hand, we have this whole piece where it's a black box, hard to discern, and an afterthought in most organizations. So why is that the case? That was one of the main things that we kind of ventured on when we started this company and wanted to really understand that, like, how come this is happening? Well, let's break it down for a second. First, when people actually talk about demos, there's no one thing. People sometimes think like, oh, the demo is like you talk, and then you have a big reveal, and then you show your product. That's not actually the case. Demos run the gamut of your marketing and sales organization. and I'll give you the sense of how Demostack thinks about it, right? So you have essentially three categories of demos: pre-call, in-call, and post-call. And you have two major types of demos. So the first one, the pre-call one, for example, is self-paced, interactive, asynchronous, right? You send someone a link. You either find it you have a tour on your website where they can click through and understand what's going on, or they get a link from your SDR team. All these links are to be self-consumed without your human in the loop to explain them. So the demo actually carries the storytelling needs. And you can already start having storytelling and demos before someone even picked up the phone to talk to you. Right? Moving on to the in-call, that's where you have you're a human storyteller in the loop, right? And these are presenter controlled, these are synchronous demos, and they kind of break down, very roughly speaking, into two categories. You have the first call, kind of lure them in, help give an overview of what you're doing demos, and then you kind of have this kind of certain deep dive demos. Of course, these break down into many more categories, but I'm trying to give you the kind of 50,000 feet view of how this looks like. So we have the in-call demos. That's where you have your humans running the show. They're sharing their screen, or they sit somewhere next to someone and show and tell the story, right? So that's where you have enabled storytellers. And then you have the post-call piece. So after you had a call, it's very important to leave something with a leave behind, or something they can remember, because that's how you get multi-threaded. People share around the product, and obviously that's asynchronous too. That's also self-paced and interactive. And the people that get it, they share it around. So that lets you have your storyteller essentially extending into the places where the customer is sitting in the room without you. And sometimes you even want a demo to actually run the gamut and kind of replace the POC altogether, because POCs are heavy to do. It's where deals go to die. And a lot of times you don't need to work so hard technically, because showcasing is enough. So that's kind of the post-call piece. And the whole gamut is important. So this already shows you what kind of scope we're talking about. So even if your company wakes up one day and decides like, yeah, we're going to invest in demos, it's hard to know where to start. Most companies don't have a clear view of what demos mean and where they come in, and how they have different groups and where they are in the funnel. So already we're talking a big scope and a lot of types of assets that look and behave very differently from one another. So that already creates some kind of complexity, right? But it goes even further. So it's not that demos are not just one thing. There are also a whole demo operation that relates to demos. What do I mean with that? So essentially, even before Demostack came, you needed R&D to help you build demos. Why was that the case? Well, R&D are the only ones that can shape a product. When you have a product, for example, a cybersecurity product, it's the instinct is like, oh, just go show it. But guess what? A cybersecurity product is built for cybersecurity, for protection. It's a massive engine that's built just for that, for usage. Same with a healthcare product or a fintech product. They're built to do one thing. So if you want to take them in and actually shape them to do showcasing, well, then you needed R&D, because they're the only people that know how to shape products, right? With modern demo creating tools, you don't need that R&D connection, but it's still very hard, right? So building the demo assets, even without R&D, if you sever the R&D ties, which is a major, major step, because going from R&D to revenue is not a very natural motion. Even if you sever the R&D and you can be completely self-sufficient, you still need multiple functions within the revenue org to actually run a demo operation. The first one is building the demo assets. So those destination links that people eventually land to. Usually that falls on the shoulder of pre-sales, product managers, and maybe some R&D. Sometimes, it depends on the size of the company, and, you have actually even a VP sales doing something, or a consultant, or a CEO. But usually those are the people that need to create those destination links. But guess what? If you only create links, nothing is going to happen. You need to send these demo assets and essentially help people find them, be enabled on them, and actually train on them. So you need to build all these meta assets that wrap around the demo and help people actually understand how to consume and relay that demo, right? We're talking notes, we're talking demo libraries, And that usually falls on either sales leadership, sales enablement, product marketing, in order to enable these people and build these meta assets so they actually know, okay, I got a link, but what do I say about it? What sequence do I show it in? What other assets does it go together, right? All this stuff needs to be managed. So again, you have a whole different function of your revenue org that you need to synchronize with. But then that's not enough. Of course, once you build, you enable, and then now you have to get people to actually consume those assets, right? And give demos. And that's a whole go-to-market frontline. We're talking AEs, SDRs, SEs, business development, partnership people, CSM, the CEO sometimes, field marketing, right? Here we're talking about, depending on the size of the company, but that's where the bulk of the users come in, right? The bulk of consumers. So you have aspects here of change management, of just managing so many people that need to consume, go in and out, not go over each other back. So you have a whole other group to manage. Again, a different function. And not only that, you want to make sure that they present in the right way. So you made all this effort to produce a story, but are they showcasing what you want them to showcase? Are they not showcasing what you don't want them to showcase? If you have a new product, are they showing it? How does the best person, the one that closes deals, demo versus the one that doesn't? Is there a difference? Right? For all that, you need consistency, and you need to manage this piece that people you can compare apples to apples and actually know what people are showing. And that's where the other piece comes in. So you have all this demo activity happening, right? And if it's consistent and standardized, those metrics come in, and they're actually very interesting at that point. And then someone needs to analyze the results and understand what we're learning here, right? That usually falls on the RevOps to do the actual analysis and build the dashboards. And guess what? This is very interesting for sales leadership and even at the board level, because demos are correlated, right? Demos are deep in the funnel. Good demos are running deals. Someone's going into your demo, and knowing how to demo becomes a piece here that's actually interesting and talks the language of sales. Right? So all this demo activity comes in and is automatically kind of presented in a way that can be consumed by a sales organization and analyze the results. And from there, you have actually demo insights that help inform which other assets you actually want to build. So what are we seeing here, right? We have a whole demo operation. We have multiple functions that need to pass the ball in sync together, different groups of people, right? They're all, if we sever the R&D ties, which is a big if, right? Before you had any tools to do that, even if you manage to get R&D off, you still have 4 different groups that need to catch and pass the ball in kind of a synchrony, and this circle never ends. You always have new products, you have new stories, you shut products down, you focus on different features. This is an ongoing piece, and you can already see why it's complex. And you have when we're talking about the go-to-market piece. You need a lot of technical and business know-how in order to do this. This is not a simple thing to do. And working through that is hard. And guess what? You're already doing it today. You just, you don't have the recognition that it's a whole operation and that it's complex and there's a lot of things behind it. And guess what? You've kind of been alone in the last, whoever kind of dealt with demos and the SEs, they're like, oh, we have the product, just showcase it. And you can become very good at showcasing, but nobody thinks about the aspects of your work as this. So they don't treat it as operation. So it always feels like it's a small thing, right? Just showcase the product. What's the problem? We built it, so just show it. So even if you can reduce the reliance on R&D, you still were alone with this, and you never had any tools to manage this process. And as we can see, it's a massive process to manage, so you clearly need a tool, right? And I think this really is the kind of the reason we exist. So if you look about it this way, look at the top. Every sales funnel I've ever seen in B2B looks something like this. Not really those stages. It's a character of what a sales funnel looks like, but roughly speaking, you have your qualification discovery, which is kind of talks, understanding, and kind of understanding where the customer is and what they're trying to do. And then you have the demo, which breaks down. People give it different names. It's not necessarily a step, but it's a step where that gets done. You go into some kind of proposals and business negotiation, and eventually a closed won, closed lost. And you can see across this funnel, you have a plethora of tools that help you manage that complexity, because these stages are complex, right? And some of them try to run multiple stages as well and be helpful in many different ways, right? But if I look at the demo stage, it was always empty. Which kind of big tool comes to mind when you think about managing that demo step, right? Even today, like the stuff that's out there helps you maybe put a demo on the website, but not really manage the step called demoing, right? Where a product is revealed and definitely not doing its any kind of scale. And it's a shame, really, because it's such an important step. Look how deep it is in the funnel, right? So a CRO, when they come and they need to predict revenue, because predictable revenue is what the CRO is trying to do, or a CEO if there's no CRO, is to try to understand revenue and what's coming in and what's real and what are we going to end the quarter with. If they miss consistently, they're usually out. So this is such an important point, and that's why they invest all this money and effort to build a sales stack that makes sense, that's modern. But the demo is completely a blind spot. And it has been pretty much because of all the complexity we covered until now. It's an operation, it runs the gamut, it had R&D ties. You couldn't really manage it until now. And that's why there's such a blank piece here. And of course, part of the reason we built the company is that realization. We wanted to say, like, hey, there should be a tool here to manage this piece, and that's where we want to be. So tiny bit about Demostack, really, in that sense. What we built is a Demo HQ app. We have an app that's essentially a demo browser that not only lets you build and enable people on it, so build deep demo links and kind of put them in the right way, help people find it on their desktop without any hard enablement. We also control the showcasing aspect. So because we own the entire browser, we actually know what people are showcasing. What kind of tabs? Are they opening 5 tabs? You can save 5 tabs that they can open later and see in the sequence, right? So because you can start standardizing the way people showcase, you don't only build and enable, but you can actually start measuring consistently and compare apples to apples on what people are showing. So we're there to kind of also think about that and how you enable people to run demos and manage that process, the building and the showcasing in one. And the cool thing is, once you have kind of a system like that, then it starts to be very interesting in terms of where this can go and where your demo operation can actually get to, right? Because once you have the right tool, you have infrastructure, and the infrastructure lets you upgrade your demo game. So let's talk about the demo hierarchy of needs. This is based on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, famous psychologist that talked about how people need certain things to exist, but then also to get to self-actualization. So it starts in the very basic things like safety and food and stuff like that to just exist, up to self-actualization, which is the holy grail of being a human. So we're kind of looking at it the same way, and we introduce this hierarchy of needs for demos. A lot of times companies come to us, our customers come to us, and we ask them, hey, which stage are you on? And they say stage 1. They just need something that's consistent and standardized. So they have a demo environment that's broken because it's an afterthought. And they just want it to work well and be predictable. Don't cost them a lot in terms of cloud cost or storage cost or just like keeping everything alive. Or they have weird things in there, like weird PII, things they shouldn't be showing, employee information, stuff like that. So they just want it to work. And the important thing is to look at the business outcome of it, right? The business outcome is revenue loss. So they just want to fix that. Once that's fixed, they can actually move on to more interesting pieces, which is verticalization. That lets them actually reduce SE bottleneck and have things on the shelf ready to go, right? And they can verticalize by geo, by market segment, personas, different products. Different companies can do different things, or all of the above. But having these demos ready to go based on verticals you can already expect save you a lot of time, and also start making the demo more tailored. So you know what are you picking from the shelf in order to showcase, right? So you're kind of preparing those shelves for your team. Once you have that in the bag, then comes another step, right? Which is very, this one is very strong, because suddenly you can start to personalize, which means bringing discovery into the demo, right? We know how important discovery is, but a lot of times organizations, even if they do discovery, it's not reflected in the demo. And that's the cause of the biggest frustration. You have a buyer sitting with you, telling you all their life story, everything about the company for an hour, and you give them the same generic demo, right? That's where you start having that frustration about the B2B process. And guess what? It's also in your benefit to have it, to bring discovery in, because you increase conversion. And we have a lot of data to show that. Increasing conversion with personalized demos, it's almost an axiom. You don't need to take my word for it. It just makes sense. So once you have that, that's a really amazing muscle to have. That already puts you in the highest levels of demo creation and increases the conversion. Okay. The next, once you have that, you can start being productive. And that means just more presenters earlier in the funnel. So a lot of organizations eventually have just 5 people that can showcase the demo. And that's such a shame. Like, even if you're the amazing presenter, if you don't know, if you only dependent on your time, then you only have a few hours a day. How many demos can you do per day? 3, 4, 5 if you're crazy, right? When you get productive, you can actually enable more people to present. So different groups of people, the SDR team, the field marketing team, the AEs, right? Your CEO. When different people present, you get just more product storytelling all together in your org. And only that, you can also do it earlier in the funnel. And we talked about how demo run the gamut from a lead generation demo down to a closing a deal demo. So it's important to have those across the funnel, and that's where you can start shortening sales cycles. And then once you have all that in the bag, that's when you get to data-driven demos, right? Which is the ultimate level you can get to. And that just means that you build your demo operation into a predictable revenue engine where the CRO cares about, and we can start translating your demo activity into actual results. So imagine you wake up one morning, you're a demo practitioner, right? And you say, like, I think we need a German demo, a German-speaking demo, and we're going to start with the automotive vertical. Right before that, you could say, like, hey, I want to do it, and your boss says, like, why? Oh yeah, we're going into Germany, but is it needed? Why is it important? You had no idea. When you have a data-driven demo revenue ops demo org set up, you can actually go and tie in that activity of building a German demo. You launch it, you see how many people use it, you see that they use it consistently with the deck they had before, the 5 other tabs they need before. And then you can actually know if this was helpful or not, or impactful or not. You get those insights back, and you report back to your CRO and say, like, look, we built a German demo. We had 500 people. We have 500 demos on it. Here are the range of people that gave it. Here's what we're seeing in terms of impact on the bottom line, in terms of like how fast they got to the next level, in terms of how many times it was shared in the org, and many, many other metrics that give you a sense of if it was successful or not. And once you have that, you can actually start talking the language of CRO, of the sales. And that gives you the coveted seat at the table, because your activity, what you're doing day to day, is actually translated into real stuff that they care about, that they need to predict, that the board is asking them about. And that's where it gets really interesting. So really, to summarize, we talked about data-driven demos. Before, if you have business as usual, right, you have all this reliance on R&D, you have all this enablement friction. So even if you build a demo, just telling people what to do, get them certified, is something you don't need to do with an Excel and go one by one, see that they're clicking around, super messy. You get a lot of inconsistent demos because people are showcasing it and you have no idea how. Right? Even if you watch gong calls all day, you cannot aggregate that information, understand what's the difference between how they're showcasing stuff. It'll take you weeks. You have zero demo visibility into your org. You don't know what people are doing. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And demos are always seen as a blocker. They're the thing you have to do in order to cross a sale, right? Like ideally, if you could take it away, you would, but the demo is always like, okay, they need a demo. They want to see that feature. Shit, like, what are we doing? How are we going to go about that, right? And then the thing is, if you start going into a data-driven demos mindset, The demo becomes the heart of the operation and the driver of revenue. Not only do you give all your go-to-market autonomy and make them product storytellers, you can also streamline the enablement on it. So they have everything ready on the shelves, ready to go. You start seeing that they're presenting the same thing over and over again in the right way, in the way you wanted them to tell the story. You also know that the activity is measured. So you launch a new product. Are people showcasing it? A lot of time, no, because they're afraid to show. They're afraid of change. Change management is a massive piece in getting demos out there, right? So being able to see that, being able to actually sit in the boardroom and say, we're launching a new product. We now want people to show it, and be able to say, okay, everyone showed it at least once. At least they're spending at least 3 minutes on it when they give a demo. Great. That is great insight for the board, and also an ability for them to control what they want to do. And if you actually have a data-driven organization, the main piece is that demos become a revenue driver. Demo activity is related to revenue. It's not something you kind of do in the air because you feel like it or you don't know. That's where you can start getting budgets. You can start getting impact, because you can make a lot of people demo storytellers, not just your time. Even if you're the best demoer on the planet for your company, you're always limited by your time. If you can step away from that, build a data-driven demo organization, you can become the architect, the producer. And guess what? Your impact is then 100-fold what it could have been before, because now your entire org is doing that, not just you. So hopefully that leaves you with a bit of food for thought. It was really fun talking to you. I hope you got some good insights out of this. And if you have any questions, please add me on LinkedIn, Jonathan Friedman. I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to add any one of you, or email me at jonathan@demostack.com. Love to hear your feedback, thoughts. Was I very wrong? Was I very right? What did you like? What you didn't like? Would love to hear everything about it, and get to know you.